My phone rang at 6 in the morning. Havana number. A Cuban journalist I'd met years ago, her voice shaking. Yanis, they killed 32 of ours, in Caracas, defending Maduro. The alliance just became blood. While the world watched American special forces extract a dictator in handcuffs, 32 Cuban soldiers died fighting to prevent exactly that. Revolutionary Armed Forces personnel, intelligence operatives, they offered fierce resistance according to Cuba's official statement, defending another nation's leader on foreign soil. That sacrifice reveals what everyone missed about Venezuela. This was the violent unraveling of a 65-year alliance that literally saved Cuba from extinction. And what happened in Caracas might be prologue to what happens 90 miles from Florida. Those 32 deaths make sense only when you understand that Cuba and Venezuela aren't really two countries anymore. And what Trump just did threatens to break an alliance Fidel Castro spent his entire life trying to build. The story begins in 1959. Castro takes power, looks south at Venezuela, massive oil reserves, strategic position. He thinks this could be the foothold for exporting revolution across South America, the breadbasket that sustains the communist experiment when America tries to strangle it with sanctions. Castro starts supporting leftist guerrillas in Venezuela. In the 1960s, a dozen Cuban fighters land at Machurucuto Beach to spark revolution. The Venezuelan army intercepts them. The mission fails spectacularly. Castro's dream seems dead. Then, 1991 happens. Soviet Union collapses. Cuba enters the special period. Economic apocalypse. No Soviet subsidies. Food rationing, daily blackouts, thousands fleeing on rafts. The revolutionary project is dying from economic starvation. In 1998, Hugo Chavez gets elected president of Venezuela. Former army officer, charismatic, socialist, Castro admirer. One of Chavez's first acts, he flies to Cuba, meets his hero. They become inseparable. By 2000, they strike the deal that saves Cuba. Venezuela sends roughly 100,000 barrels of oil per day, heavily discounted. In exchange, Cuba sends doctors, teachers, intelligence advisors, and most importantly, security personnel to protect Chavez from exactly what just happened to Maduro. 20,000 Cubans arrived by 2004, 40,000 by 2015. Not all doctors. Many are intelligence officers, military advisors, security specialists. They embed in Venezuela's power structure, creating a parallel security apparatus loyal to the survival of the Chavez revolution which keeps Cuba alive. In 2002, Venezuelan military briefly overthrows Chavez, coup d'etat, but Fidel Castro calls Chavez during the crisis. "Are you president still or not?" Castro demands. He coaches Chavez through the ordeal. Within hours, a counter-coup restores Chavez. Castro's intervention was the determining factor. After that, Chavez trusts Cubans more than his own people. Marco Rubio said it explicitly. All the guards that help protect Maduro, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. Chavez declares that Cuba and Venezuela aren't two nations. They're La Gran Patria, the one homeland. When Chavez dies in Cuba in 2013, Havana grants him Cuban citizenship, the only foreigner to receive that honor since Che Guevara. Think about that. Che Guevara and Hugo Chavez. The only two foreigners Cuba considers worthy of citizenship. That's how existential Venezuela became to Cuba's survival. Maduro inherits this relationship, but he's not Chavez, former bus driver who studied in Cuba as a young man, ideologically indoctrinated by Havana. He depends on Cuban protection even more because he has less domestic legitimacy. The alliance continues. Venezuela sends oil, Cuba sends intelligence. But it's not partnership anymore, it's dependency. Cuba cannot survive without Venezuelan oil. Maduro cannot survive without Cuban security. Symbiotic, codependent, desperate. January 3rd, 2026. 2 in the morning, American aircraft appear over Caracas. Delta Force helicopters land. They're coming for Maduro. And who fights to stop them? 32 Cubans. they engaged in direct combat against the attackers, died after fierce resistance, or from bombing of the facilities. Cuba announces 2 days of national mourning. Raul Castro and President Diaz-Canel send condolences. The names of the dead aren't released. But the message is clear. Cubans died fighting Americans to protect Venezuela's government. Active combat operations. Trump acknowledged it casually. A lot of Cubans were killed yesterday, he told reporters on Air Force One, as if Cuban soldiers defending a Venezuelan president from American special forces is normal geopolitics. But it's revelatory. Those 32 deaths prove Cuba and Venezuela merged security apparatuses decades ago. Maduro's personal protection wasn't Venezuelan military. It was Cuban special forces. His intelligence network wasn't Venezuelan spies. It was Cuban operatives. This is what Trump broke in Venezuela, an